Hello, welcome to Watch Your Mouth with Khalil Anthony, talking shit with Khalil Anthony. This is the Scarab edition, and I have two amazing people with me, Zakiya Harris, Sh8peshifter, and Kweku Awotwi. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah, Awotwi. Yeah.
How y'all doing?
Man. Oh, good.
Wow. Okay.
You're in quarantine.
Honey, there we go. So that's one of the first questions. Where are you both located right now?
Zakiya, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm in the Bay Area, Oakland, California.
Cool. I'm in Accra, Ghana.
Yeah, and I am in Ingera, Spain. This is an international album, an international interview, baby. Yeah, so how are you during the quarantine? How are people doing?
I'm going first. Well, it's funny, over here, our actual lockdown has been lifted. So we are not confined to our homes officially. However, it's recommended we stay at home. And in fact, I'm a person who uses public transport. I'm always moving around, and I haven't taken public transport for like about 6 weeks. So for me, that's like crazy. When I really need to go out, I jump on my bicycle. I do some personal training. So I have a few clients, they run and I cycle, these kind of things where we can observe the social distance. I got my masks, and all of those things. So, but I'm giving thanks because the space I have to kind of, lock down in is actually got a nice compound and it's sunny most of the time. So I have to say I'm giving thanks to be here. If I was in the UK where I was raised, I know the scenario is very different. So I'm giving thanks to be out in Accra right now.
Absolutely. I think my experience has been very similar. The way I've been describing it is we're holding the spectrum. So there's some beauty happening out of this. And the beauty is the fact that I get to be home with my daughter. The fact I was just marveling the other day, like, am I ever going to have this much time with my child, like, ever again in this way? Like, when do you just get 2 months of a global pandemic to just be home with your child? Even if we transition out of this, it'll be different. So I had to just really sit in gratitude for that. Our relationship has deepened. My relationship with her father as a co-parent has deepened through this quarantine, and really supporting her as the only child and also someone who has her own mental health challenges sometimes, which brought our family together. So that's been a blessing. My work is was virtual before mostly, so not much has changed. And I do intuitive life coaching, and actually my business has kind of doubled since quarantine. So I'm appreciating, and my days are full, but they're not busy. Right? Like I used to feel like I was on this busy hamster wheel, and now I have full days. There's still a lot to do, but I don't have that draining sense of go that quarantine has brought, and I'm very thankful. And holding the spectrum that there are people without jobs. There are people who have family members have been sick. Someone in my partner's family member has passed away of COVID. People are just not knowing what they're going to do financially, and holding the spectrum of that, as well as kind of what, I don't even want to say the new normal, like what this transition is going to look like. A lot of business owners are losing their places. So there's also a lot of grief. I've been thinking about, like, what are death rituals look like? We are people who spend so much reverence in honoring our dead. And, in a funeral, you only can have 10 people, or you can't really have a funeral, or, so, I don't really think we'll know what the true cost of this means for us as a global community, probably till this time next year, when we're all, thinking back to that time that we had this pandemic. But this is a historical time, and I'm just grateful to be alive and to be here. So I chop it up all in gratitude.
Wow, thank you. I think, through this platform and then just talking to people, you just hear so many different stories, about what you just said, like how people are living, work, And the next thing I was thinking about is how are you both using innovation in your work now, right? It's yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. Should I go, Zakiya? Or?
Either way.
All right. So I can jump off. So I do two main things. A bit like Zakiya, I coach. A lot of my clients in Ghana, we focus wellness because life coaching is not really taken off here. I got a friend who brought NLP down, and she had the real time enabling people to understand NLP, and so I don't have such a client base in Ghana for my coaching. So wellness has been the thing that I do most here. And that actually, interestingly, this issue, this pandemic has meant that I now have some clients overseas as well because of the willingness and the kind of openness to do, consultations and even fitness over Zoom or over, video conferencing. So I have, Zoom workouts Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, which is really good fun. I'm doing music generally, over distance. So when I do it, I've been doing soundtracks between Ghana and London, and then the remix with you, Khalil, wherever you are, because you move around so much. So with, people mastering in the UK. And so for me, technology is really key, to keeping things rolling. But a bit like Zakiya, I think that it's been quite a bit, that's been the case for a while, but now it's kind of come into a real sharp focus. And I think the thing that's changed is more people are open to this idea of working over distance. And I think that's a huge benefit to us in the kind of work we do. People valuing it regardless of where you are in the world, valuing your coaching skills, valuing your composition skills, valuing, your performance skills, open to performances in spaces like this, your living room, there's so many people dancing, I saw Elvin Ailey dancers doing all their warm-ups and their rehearsals and stuff in their kitchens and sharing those things. And, I think that that's really powerful. So for me, that's kind of, I guess, how it's kind of working for me. And excuse me for enjoying my dinner. You're all invited.
Virtually invited.
Hold me a plate. I'm gonna hold you to my plate, Kweku.
I know.
No problem.
Just kind of piggybacking off of that, I think that, I did a YouTube video a couple weeks ago when this first started about like, what are the new currencies, cultural currencies for a new earth, right? And that before this time, money was like the currency. And if you didn't have money and assets, pretty much all the work that you have been doing really didn't mean shit or wasn't valued in the economy. Not saying that people like us didn't value each other's work, but like the world, everything was based on how much money you have. And now we're seeing that many of the currencies that all of us with Zoom and a lot of the folks in our communities have been investing in, the currency of community, right? The fact that we can get here right now and have this conversation in literally 3 different countries, the culture of creativity, the fact that, Khalil, your project already was created digitally and kind of passing beats and things back and forth. I think that the future will belong to the creatives. And I think that creatives are the ones who always had to try to figure stuff out. We are always leading the way of what it means to be innovative. And even if you look at where music is going, and like you were saying, Kweku, with dance, we're modeling, we, the creatives, are modeling to the world right now, how to transition, how to navigate, how to hold your art and your art's practice dear to you because it's a way of life. It's our religion. It's the way that we breathe and have to do that, as well as, honor kind of what society is telling us we have to do by staying in home. So I think that we've already been on the precipice of doing these things for so long, and now really the world is catching up to us. And so we're able to kind of be ready and be in a position where we can show what innovation looks like in a different way, and how the currency of money in and of itself is insufficient. Because if you're not creative, you can have all the money in the world, it doesn't mean shit. If you don't have community, you can have all the money in the world, it doesn't mean anything. If you don't have the currency of wellness, clearly, when we're in a life or death time, you can have all the money, it's insufficient. So I think creatives are modeling innovation to the world right now.
I love that. I think, you know, I had a moment when this first happened. I was like, I think I'm designed for this world. This is the world I've always been living in, you know, like, you know, working for myself, being able to work with different partnerships around the world, and being honest to my work, right? I think that's something people really, that's a currency for me, I think, right? Like, the fact that we all are involved in this project, this international project, and then it's like, okay, what do you do now? It's like, well, we're gonna figure out something. Let's talk to the producers. You know what I'm saying? Let's, yeah. So like the whole idea of putting out an album during this time for me has been, opposed to something that's challenging, it's the most opportune thing in the world. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. I mean, obviously it's you know, I'm not saying that the pandemic is perfect, but the resources that I've developed and that we've all developed have us prepared to share our stories, right? And with you two, you know, you do music as well. I want to focus on the music real quick, but I just want to say something about like what you do. How do you describe yourself as, like, someone says, what do you do? What would you say?
I'll take this. I consider myself, well, first of all, I'm a shapeshifter, right? And so that is kind of what I do. I'm a spiritual midwife. I midwife people from stagnation to activation. And I do that on stage. I do that as a mother. I do that with nonprofits and businesses. I help move people from a place through a transformation from one state to the other. And I'm there kind of coaching, guiding them, midwifing. And it might come through the medium of music sometimes, or the medium of nonprofit business. But kind of my big piece for me is being a shapeshifter. That's what I do.
Wow, there's so much overlap. You know, I love the context of midwifery. You know, I haven't even really considered that space, right? That's just beautiful. For me, it's definitely a healing space. So we share that. And, you know, for me, it's performance and then community. I like, you know, I'm a bit of a magnet in terms of drawing people together or creating magnetism or facilitating the ability for people to connect with each other. You know, and the way I do that, I think, is from creating spaces. You know, what's, I think, different about or unique about how I work is just that be able to make safety happen so that people can really come out of themselves, be themselves, be of themselves, and express. And I think creativity binds everything. So whether you're a dancer, singer, or an artist as we are, or you're a banker, you're a lawyer, it's about accessing that element of creativity, making something from nothing, conjuring, you know, that kind of element of personal magic. You know, I like to be able to create spaces that enable people to do that. And I think that's where the wellness happens. You know, people can detach themselves from some of these things that people expect of them, expectations, and all these kind of labels and things that are put on them, you know, in the roles that they have, both professionally and in family. So just creating that space where they can take all that off and just get on with being, and then contributing and exploring, really playing, you know. So I think that's kind of what I do. And through music, through direct and literal wellness, as in, you know, fitness and health and nutrition, and then through teaching and educating.
That's lovely. So I've asked everybody the same question. So do you remember how we met? And you don't have to give all the specifics, just, you know.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
It might not be appropriate.
I don't think it was rude. You know, I don't think it was rude.
No,
like,
no,
at least
it
I
wasn't.
don't.
I don't remember how we met.
That's why I'm asking. I mean, I've asked everybody, but when I thought about your answer, I was like, I have no idea. Like, maybe, I mean, I don't know when it was, but I think we were both, well, you're from Oakland, and I moved to Oakland, and I was welcomed into such a huge artistic community of like awesome Black people. Let's just be boom. And I know you were someone who I don't think we ever really got real close until we did a photo shoot. Then
Yeah.
we hung out, and then we started like being like, "That's my girl. That's
Yeah.
that's the one." But I've always had big smile when I saw your face. I don't remember the time, like exactly. Kweku, do you remember when we met?
Yeah, I think it was, well, the year was around 2009, I think.
Exactly.
It was like 2009. You were in the UK, you were in Leeds and in London doing like some amazing work with young people and art and stuff like that. And our homie and our buddy at Jammu said, you guys have got to meet. And then we did, and we clicked.
Yeah.
And it was dope. It was
Awesome.
really dope. We hung out. I think we kind of incubated ourselves for a whole chunk of time. We just talked about music, Chaka Khan, your auntie doing her hair, all this.
Yeah.
Like,
You got good memory.
yeah, it was just so dope. And we hung out in Shoreditch, and we did like some record launches, and oh my
The
God.
whitest boy alive, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. See, look, you went in, and and so yeah, so that's when we met, and I think we've kind of weaved in and out since then. Hung in New York, hung in the UK, and yeah.
Okay, so speaking of music, what are you listening to? Maybe share one song that you've kind of been like, this is my jam. What's the song you've been listening to lately?
The reason I'm laughing is because I got all this deep music that I like to listen to, and spiritual music and gospel and all sorts. But at the moment, the track that's doing it for me is Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce.
Okay.
Dude, like right now, it's a banger. So that's the tune. I'm dancing to that track. I'm listening to that track. I can't TikTok and move my buttocks like that, but I just imagine I'm doing it.
I love Megan Thee Stallion. I'm a huge freaking fan. I work out to her, and she just is giving me all types of life. That woman is very talented. I'm really feeling her.
Yeah. So you're feeling like a savage right now, Zakiya?
I'm sorry?
Feeling like a savage right now?
All day. Bougie savage. I even did a little TikTok video with my daughter to Megan Thee Stallion.
Wow. So is that what you're listening to now? That's keeping you?
Not right this minute. I mean, when I have my moments, she definitely gets me pumped up when I have my ratchet times. You got to get the fire pumping. I think that's something about being home,
Yes.
It's like, I think a lot of folks are going to come out of this quarantine weaker than when they went in, right? Spiritually, mentally, and physically weaker. The weakness of panic and fear and thinking that you're going to die. The weakness of weakening your which weakens your immune system. Fear weakens your immune system. Going out with a mask and not having full deep breaths when we know that you need to oxygenate your body. Folks not moving as much as they were. And so I've been really committed to making sure that when we transition out of this, I'm going to be stronger than I went in. And so I have my green juice. You can't really see. I've been working out, and I've just been really making sure I get outside and walk and just keep the fire burning. And so Megan Thee Stallion.
I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna switch to our album or our song. We should do an album. But I wanted to talk about the process because I was with Zakiya, right? And then Kweku, you were, waiting for our stuff. So Zakiya, you want to talk a little bit about how our process was?
Yeah, I mean, we've been collaborating, I don't want to say informally, but Khalil is someone who's always creating. And I definitely am always inspired by that by you. You're always creating things. you have this insatiable need to create. And from the moment we really kind of started getting tight, every time you're at the studio or have a new beat or rhyming, you're always sending me stuff. And, you know, we've played and dabbled here and there, but this was the first thing that kind of like stuck and got completed and got put out. And so kind of just in true Khalil Anthony form, you're like, hey, I got this beat, what's up? And you know, I came over to your crib and you had this makeshift studio that you built, and we just went for it. It was a beautiful sunny day. I remember the weather was like popping that day. And we just got into the zone, and it was just really sweet and beautiful, and bouncing ideas off of each other and having a just a level of grace around collaboration and throwing ideas out. And, you know, creating can be for me is a very sensitive process. And especially when you're writing, typically I do a lot of my writing alone. Even my recording, I'm very much like, I like to be by myself. And so this was kind of me stepping out of my comfort zone to kind of do that in group with you. And you were so gracious and made me feel so safe and comfortable, and it just felt like easy and natural. And so we just did it. And you know, and you're like, I'm gonna send it to Kweku, and I'm like, oh snap, Kweku, isn't he in Ghana? And you're like, yeah, but you know, and so they happened back and forth. And even as you were letting me hear, sending me tracks and versions of it, as it was kind of in process of being edited and everything, and really just making sure that my input was there, like just says a lot about the intention that you bring to your own artistic process. So it was really fun and easy. And now to hear the finished project and to see what Kweku just took it to a whole nother level, I love it.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for that before you go, Kweku. I've been in some places with other artists and I have not felt respected or felt creeped out about being in front of people, because I'm like you, I like to do it by myself. And had that experience feel so weird where I'm like, whenever I'm in charge of this, or not in charge, but facilitating a space, I want to make sure everything is cool with the person. You know what I mean? Like, you good? You feel good? And then when I get the songs back, what's it mean that I heard it and I like it? I want to make sure you hear it. It's your voice, you know? Like, I think sometimes people think, oh, you're just a feature. It's like, no, this is as important as a tree and grass and oxygen, right? Like, we're a part of the same creation. So I always wanted to make sure everybody is feeling awesome about the project. So then, Kweku, what was it like when you received our offerings?
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting because it like, you had done so much. Like, it was rich. The amount of layers of vocals that you guys had the chance to go and work on, and then, you know, it's a complete song. You know, and there's a conversation that you guys are having in the song. And I knew that if I was going to create a remix, it would be tough for me to create something which had a different identity without kind of really separating the parts, and really sort of getting inside it. So I listened to it a lot. And I listened to the individual little nuances, the riffs, the runs, the melodies that you guys had put down individually, and the parts. And it was great fun to hear, because I hadn't really heard, Zakiya, your voice so close up, and especially because I had the stem, so I could listen to it without anything, and it was brilliant. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be dope. And the way you blend actually was interesting, because Khalil, you know, you got that bass baritone going on, but then you use your falsetto, and then Zakiya, you just had that kind of nice smoky alto going on, and I was like, this is dope. So to begin with, it was tempting to keep it like as one piece, but then I had some fun sort of taking sections out of it, and realized that I could kind of make a new meaning from it because of how you kind of got this call and response going on. And I played with the instrumental before, so that kind of informed the way that I kind of started to use the vocals to kind of, you know, counter that. And I was doing another project, which is a sort of an audiobook project where I was using a lot of African instruments. I was working with African musicians, with Ghanaian musicians, and there was xylophone, kalimba, and these kind of local instruments in there. And that massively influenced me in terms of that decision to have a breakdown in the track that then went quite local. You know, it had those sounds in it. So that's where that kind of second part of the song comes in, and then you know, you kind of then ride out through to the end where it gets a bit mystical.
Yeah, I mean, cause you're the only track on the album. So the on the Junebug album, the song is called Wait, and something happened to that track where it's just there's no stems. It's just that's what it is, right? So then Zakiya and I had the opportunity to create a new song, and then that new song you remix, right? So I know when we first got it, it was like, oh, what happened to our song? You know, like to be honest, that's why the show is called Talking Shit, because we're gonna tell the truth. And then we took a space to just let you do you, right? I think we both were like, let's just wait to see what he does. And then, I mean, for me, it's one of the strongest songs on the album because it feels so like, I feel like we are cyborgs coming into humanity. It just feels like, I can't wait. It just feels kind of like, oh, this tension, but this like otherworldliness. And then like you just said, that drop, and we just get that moment to just go ham. I was like, you know, like I've always wanted to make music like the music I'm making. So when it's happening around me, I'm like, whoa, it's happening. What do you feel about the song, Zakiya, when you hear it now? What do you think?
I agree. It was really interesting to hear kind of Kweku's take, because I do agree that I feel like because even when I first got it from you, Khalil, it was its own thing. And then before my vocals were on it, and then I came in and own different thing. And then Kweku came on and became its own different thing. And I think that I love to hear that evolution, and also to see the trust that we had, because sometimes, to your point, when you feature something, it's just the same thing with a new nuance or a new sound or a new this, versus no, this is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened. And so I actually like that level of process. I think with some folks, there's a unknown about that can be really scary. And I just trusted. I trusted you. I trusted Kweku. So I just was like, well, whatever it is, I'm just going to trust that it's going to be what it's going to be, and I'm happy with that.
Perfect. Kweku, you have any last words to say about the track?
Well, it's funny because I kind of, they said talking shit. I think it's kind of like the thing of, yeah, like it's in one piece, right? You guys have done all that stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take this bit, and it's like, hey, where's that bit? Yeah, so I love that you kind of went through that journey, because it's like, keeping it real. It's like, yeah, there's a piece of work, but I guess I get a bit kind of like a brat in a way, because I like the original version, the version you sent me, with all the parts. So I'm kind of like, we need that as well. Because it exists on its own, but then the invitation to play, an invitation to mix, an invitation to create something, then kind of took over. So, but it's good to hear. But I'm like, no, you have to still share the original.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta send it back so we can hear that again.
Because there's so much in there. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah. Okay, because I know, I have to stop myself because I can talk forever. But what are you two working on now? This is my last question before we go. But is there anything you'd like to share with us that you're working on now that you're really excited about?
Zakiya, do you want to go?
Sure. I am at a place as an artist. So I put out an EP, After Darkness, last year in 2019, and did a Pacific Northwest tour around it, and got a lot of press around it, or whatever a lot of press means. Got some press around it, and which you can all go out and check out on Spotify, and everybody listening. So I feel like last year was a really time of putting out for me. And now this is a year of me receiving. This is an input year. I'm receiving right now. And because I've kind of delved deeper into my work as a life coach and as a healer, I'm really excited to bring those worlds together in a deeper way. I feel like my arts practice and my spiritual practice has still felt a little like the left and right arm, and now it's like so I think that the input of me going inward is bringing those things together. And honestly, and I'm not there yet, but kind of my vision, I'm going Alice Coltrane, my next album might be a straight meditation album. Like
Okay.
I'm just no barrier between spirit and music, and it's all one.
I love that, Zakiya. I do. Sorry. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that sounds dope. That sounds dope. And Zakiya, I want the link. I haven't heard your EP, so I got Spotify up in here, so I'm ready to have a listen to it. And I love me some meditation, so I'm also looking forward to that new project.
we might have to collaborate on that.
Sure. Let's do it.
Where is like the cool spiritual music for our generation, right? There's like, I love the sound of healing bowls and water streams. Like, I love it. I go in on that. It's dope. But I also like that Megan Thee Stallion shit to knock. You know what I mean? And a lot of times the new world, new age spiritual stuff is very white and doesn't have the rhythm and the polyrhythms, or it's like super traditional. I love traditional music of all walks of life, but I feel like there's a gap there that can be filled around kind of people bringing kind of something more modern with the spiritual piece and kind of bringing those things together.
Yeah, I agree. It's 100, and I think that would be fascinating, because I think sometimes just creating space in music becomes the avenue for meditation. It doesn't have to be called meditation music, but now if I create space and I add layers to it, right, I now have room for me to clear. And I think that would be real. That's a lot of there's a lot of power in that music. Mm-hmm. And as you guys know, I usually do most of my work is soundtrack. Mm-hmm. So I've been given space to kind of create music which doesn't have a very conventional usage. It's not necessarily an entertainment, or it sometimes isn't the foreground. So it can have that space in it. So it's become something that I'm quite kind of, it's quite natural for me to work in that way and create music in that way. In terms of what I'm currently working on, I have a good friend in London who's called Tyrone Isaac Stewart. He's a dance artist as well, and he's also a saxophonist. We work together on a project called Hansel and Gretel, a children's story adapted as an African refugee story. Wow. By Uchenna Dance Company, and that's toured twice so far in the UK. It's a beautiful piece of work as a production, and I was really enjoying the range of music I got to make on that. But working with Tyrone, I did this kind of faux Afrobeat Fela Kuti meets Erykah Badu thing with him, and it came out really interesting. I worked with artists here in Ghana and with him in London. And then so more recently, that jazzy vibe that we kind of picked up on has kind of settled. And I did a little scat, which I sent to him, and then he created something and sent it back. So I'm going to do an EP with 2 tracks on it. Both come from scats that I did that I then sent to him. He replayed in saxophone and then created some improvisations. And then I'm now adding the layers and the kind of textures to it, and then the song and the story. So there's this kind of, jazzy influenced EP on its way. And I'm really pushing. I would like to see that out in July. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, I haven't released anything for a long, long time. So it's exciting.
Beautiful. That sounds amazing.
I was going to say, I want to hear it. Cool. I want to thank you both, Zakiya, aka Sh8peshifter, Kweku, aka Awotwi. That sounds horrible. Awotwi? All right. So thank you for watching Talking Shh. Watch your mouth with Khalil Anthony. Talking shit with Khalil Anthony. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.